After the House passed a bill to force the release of the Epstein files, Donald Trump showed us he is more panicked than ever before, than at any other point in his presidency, with two insane posts. The first, of course, about the Jeffrey Epstein files. The second, equally as crazy, about how angry he is with Black George Washington. Yes, you heard me right. Donald Trump is in a state of utter collapse, is showing off on Truth Social. We are going to get into it all and what it means for the Epstein files. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into these posts from Donald Trump, I think it is important we address what he and Republicans are trying to do today, and that is rewrite the history of the Epstein files and their attack on Democratic efforts for transparency. And someone who has been calling that out is Jamie Raskin in this clip right here.
He said, in the very presence of the victims and the survivors who come to join us today, the Speaker said that now would be a time we should be working on urgent legislative work. Mr. Speaker, justice is urgent legislative work. The truth is urgent legislative work. The Speaker says, why now? Why now? Well, Mr. Speaker, you were the one who refused to swear in Adelita Grajova for 50 days. We would have done it 50 days ago, but she provided the 218th signature on the discharge petition. So why now? It was because of your dilatory tactics, your delay.
I want to talk later in this video about the efforts that Donald Trump will undertake to block the release of the Epstein files in full, even after Congress forces their release. But right now, I think it is so important to address not what Donald Trump will do in private, but what MAGA is trying to do in public. What Jamie Raskin is calling out, the fact that they want you to believe that they've always been for transparency. But Mike Johnson and John Thune and Donald Trump did not have some change of heart. They do not have moral clarity. They are just trying to change the narrative and pretend that they always wanted the release of the Epstein files, and actually are trying to pretend that it's Democrats who blocked it both under Joe Biden's administration, which isn't true, and over the past couple of months, another blatant lie. But Donald Trump is trying to do this and trying to shift focus, I guess, back to the failures of his administration, which Jasmine Crockett called out right here in his very important context for the insane post that Trump made.
We can have this honest conversation about Epstein now. Let's just go ahead with this lame duck president and be honest about everything that the American people care about. They care about affordability. They care about the fact that literally people are starving in this country because we have 42 million people, and I don't remember any one of you during that almost 2-month break deciding to go on faux news or any other news outlet and say, you know what, it is wrong to have 42 million people that are relying on $6 a day to eat, and we have the money because somehow our president was able to find under the couch cushion, the one that JD wasn't sitting on, under the couch cushion, he was able to find 40, how much did he find to send to Argentina? 40, there we go, 40 billion to send to Argentina. But those emergency funds, he couldn't find them emergency funds so that Americans could eat. So listen, if y'all are gonna be honest and talk about Epstein right now, let's be honest about everything that is causing y'all to lose real bad. Did y'all see the election results on November 4th? It didn't go very well. So let's just start having honest conversations so that hopefully some of y'all in some of these tight seats.
I do not think there is a more important issue that we could be talking about right now than Epstein. I think this is the most important thing for Democrats to be talking about, because as Rokana has turned it, there is an Epstein class in this country. And Donald Trump and every member of his administration and every Republican in Congress is certainly part of it. These are people willing to sell us out to their rich, powerful, well-connected buddies so that they can benefit. They don't think the rules apply to them. They're happy to take jets from Qatar. They are happy to insider trade. They are happy to cut your health care. gut the services that keep Americans alive and fed and healthy for billionaire tax cuts. So soon next year, maybe there can be trillionaire tax cuts. They will sell us down the river as they protect their white-collar criminal friends. That is what they always have done. That is what they will continue to do unless we push back. And the Epstein files release is an important step in doing so, in changing the political alignment in this country, to understand that billionaires are the problem and that we will not engage in these ridiculous culture war issues that the right tries to force upon us. We are waking up to that, and it terrifies Donald Trump, which is why he made one Epstein post and one culture war post. The first of Trump's two Truth Social posts reads, "Investment in AI is helping to make the US economy the hottest in the world. But overregulation by the states is threatening to undermine this growth engine. Some states are even trying to embed DEI ideology into AI models, producing woke AI. Remember Black George Washington? We must have one federal standard instead of a patchwork of 50 state regulatory regimes. We can do this in a way that protects children and prevents censorship." Trump then followed that up with a post about Epstein, writing, "I don't care when the Senate passes the House bill, whether tonight or at some other point in the near future. I just don't want Republicans to take their eyes off of all the victories that we've had, including the great big beautiful bill. Maybe Bubba closed borders. No men and women, sports, or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, the big tax cuts." Donald Trump, of course, continued saying that he's invested trillions of dollars in the country and that we are the hottest in the world, and even delivering a huge defeat to Democrats on the shutdown, Make America Great Again. Okay, first, on the Black George Washington AI slop message that Donald Trump put out, what happened to states' rights are? Are you guys not doing that anymore? When it means regulating women's bodies, you're happy to. But when it means regulating AI and preventing Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk from making billions more dollars in a detrimental fashion to Americans and the environment, then it's fine. Okay, I can't even... But the Epstein post. Trump is furious. Trump is panicked, and Trump again is trying to rewrite history. He wants to pretend like he was on board with this, that he doesn't care, that he just wants to move on, because that's what Republicans will now say. They will now say that the Epstein files have been released. Whatever. You know, couple of documents that Donald Trump puts out there. It's probably going to be a lot of stuff about Bill Clinton, but Donald Trump will release a few documents. Remember the folders that he gave to the MAGA influencers? It'll probably be that. And then you'll say, well, Republicans, well, we released the Epstein files. But I do believe that Donald Trump wants you to think that when Democrats take over the House and take over the Senate, God willing in 2026, that when we win the midterms, when it is a blowout. And by the way, Texas is new maps. They're gonzo. A federal court has struck them down. Of course, it'll go up to the Supreme Court. We'll see what happens there. But Donald Trump is on pace to an even more brutal midterm loss. But when this happens, they will pretend that any investigation, any hearings that we hold about Epstein, that they're futile, that they're nonsensical, that they're a distraction from actually getting stuff done. That is not the case. Not only because Donald Trump won't have released the full Epstein files, but because, as I've said throughout the entirety of this scandal, and we've been talking about it for a long time, we were talking about this last year. By the way, what independent media was, what is not in those files to me, could be more damaging than what is. That is why I want everyone in this administration subpoena Trump on. I need him under oath. Pam Bondi under oath. Kash Patel under oath. Todd Blanchard under oath. Of course, I want Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's brother. Why not all of these people need to go under oath? Mike Johnson, his staff need to go under oath. They were breaking the law for refusing to swear in Adelaide Grahola. They were breaking the law. All of them. I want all of them held accountable. That is not a futile undertaking. That is not unimportant. That is important. Donald Trump wants you to move on because he knows that nothing will change if you do. I promise you, we are not going to let up. We cannot let up, because if we do, they win. If we take them at their word, which, why the fuck would we? They win. And we cannot do that. But that was not the only thing Donald Trump posted about. Of course, he was posting about AI as well, and AOC, because it's largely been progressives on top of this. Just ripped apart all of this AI bubble bullshit that you need to know about, that is coming for tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of jobs around the world, but specifically in America. What AOC said was so perfect. You gotta check it out.
Just this morning, the Wall Street Journal reported a significant drop in the U.S. stock market with the headline AI bubble fears hit stocks. Now, this also contrasts with what we've been hearing from the Trump administration, that the economy in general is thriving. And he's been saying that the economy is booming, but it's only 7 tech companies that are booming: Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta. And they're driving this growth in just one sector, AI. So the entire US economy growth can be tracked down to 7 companies and their AI growth specifically. At least 40% of economic growth this year is attributed to these companies alone, and 80% of stock gains this year came from AI companies. But people are justifying these levels of investment because of the promises that the CEOs make that there will be a return on that investment. So for a company like OpenAI, their value is based on the expectation that they're going to figure out how to make a profit out of it. And they haven't. And so generating this increased human dependency that can be mined, because it's not subject to HIPAA, is that correct, Dr. King?
Right, it's not subject to HIPAA.
It's not subject to HIPAA. So people's deepest fears, secrets, emotional content, relationships can all be mined for this empty promise that we're getting from these companies to turn a profit. And the reason I bring all of this up is because the exposure of this industry and this investment, I fear, has reached broad levels, potentially, of the American economy. When we're talking about 40% of stock growth in the United States being attributed to these companies in the AI sector alone, and that sector has not turned a profit, we're talking about a massive economic bubble.
We need to be fighting back against the oligarchs on all fronts. That is against their abuses of children and their abuses of their workers. The abuse that will take place with AI. We gotta call it all out as progressives. We are certainly going to on this show, if you want to support that. As always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comment. Until next time, I'll see you soon.